or any Medicare Advantage plan, you are entitled to preventative services with no copays and no deductibles. You may also be eligible for full dental, vision, and prescription coverage. These benefits can make a huge difference in your overall health. Call Nations Advantage now to renew your Medicare plan options.
Please call 800-590-6941.
Hi, I'm Kwame Wynn, host of The Cute Empire. Here on Buzz TV Network, everybody needs to be watching Buzz TV Network because this week's Cute Empire program is dedicated to you. Grow your personal empire right here. Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Are you drowning in debt? Struggling just to make minimum payments? It's not your fault. Serious debt can happen to anyone, but there is hope. Our debt-free program has helped thousands of good people just like you eliminate their credit card debt. Call us today and we will dramatically reduce your credit card debt down to just a fraction of what you owe. The call is free. The consultation is free. Take control of your credit debt. Take control of your life again. Call now to see how our debt-free program can work for you.
Call 800-993-1670.
Sealander has it all.
Amazing work, brilliant.
These are outstanding.
The finest collage artist in the United States of America.
Fabulous, inspiring.
The work tonight is superb.
I love the show. Beautiful fabrics and patterns. I really appreciate it.
It's a great exhibit. It's quite a crowd.
Reminiscent of Warhol's Flowers series. Beautiful work.
This is a tremendous show.
Way to go, man.
Expressive, ever inventive. Bruce Sealander's work never ceases to amaze.
Wonderful design and painting, beautiful, including scarves. Bruce Sealander has it all. It's amazing.
I am here enjoying Bruce Sealander's amazing work at the Fritz Gallery. It's opening night. I highly recommend you getting down to check out. I don't know how many decades retrospective we have going on here, 30, 40 years of his work. Absolutely brilliant. And tonight, of course, Bruce is here and he's phenomenal.
These scarves are from the painting. There are only 10 of them. It's our first ever edition.
I've known Bruce for quite a while. The Mickeys are a great addition, and these are outstanding. He's done a wonderful job on these. Bruce always delivers a great show, and this is no exception.
He's the finest collage artist in the United States of America.
He's fabulous. He's such a terrific artist and a really great person and really inspiring.
Ground. And you notice everything has...
Doing something in contemporary.
Way to go, man. I've been seeing your work since I was maybe 5 years old, and you've come a long way. Great job tonight.
The work tonight is superb, and I really love it.
I love the show. Beautiful fabrics and patterns that are going on. Very, from all over the place. There's very different ideas, and it's very expansive. I really appreciate it.
It's a great exhibit. There's so many people in here right now. I would take you over and point to the one I like the most, but it's quite a crowd.
Another incredible show by Bruce Sealander. Reminiscent of Warhol's Flowers series, he's tapped into the amazing beauty of floral, flowers, and pastel colors that everyone loves and would like to have in their home. The delicacy of his work with the subject matter is a remarkable tribute. He's truly one of the master collage artists of his generation and possibly the century. Beautiful work, Bruce.
European artists have got no problems with humor in art. American artists tend to be serious, they want to be taken seriously, and Bruce Helander is European in this. He is light-hearted, he mixes between very witty figuration and abstraction. What he does is really unusual, I think. This is a tremendous show.
Get down in the next couple days because it's definitely worth the trip over. It's fantastic.
Attention, this message is for everyone eligible for Medicare. If you have Medicare Part A, Part B, or any Medicare Advantage plan, you are entitled to preventative services with no copays and no deductibles. You may also be eligible for full dental, vision, and prescription coverage. These benefits can make a huge difference in your overall health. Call Nations Advantage now to renew your Medicare plan options.
Please call 800-590-6941.
Are you drowning in debt? Struggling just to make minimum payments? It's not your fault. Serious debt can happen to anyone, but there is hope. Our debt-free program has helped thousands of good people just like you eliminate their credit card debt. Call us today and we will dramatically reduce your credit card debt down to just a fraction of what you owe. The call is free. The consultation is free. Take control of your credit debt. Take control of your life again. Call now to see how our debt-free program can work for you.
Call 800-993-1670.
What's on your website? Video is now essential to your brand, and Buzz TV can help your business website stand out. Buzz TV is a full-service video production company creating video to highlight what you do best, with service and product news and demos, video for the web, YouTube, Facebook, broadcast TV, and social media sharing. Email buzztvnetwork@gmail.com today. We look forward to hearing from you.
Listen up, America. Millions of Americans just like you owe the IRS more than $10,000 and are facing liens, bank levies, wage garnishments, penalty abatements, and other IRS enforcement actions. Newly authorized debt forgiveness programs allow you to settle your debts for less than ever before. Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? If so, then call Tax Savings Helpline now.
Please call 800-873-5927.
Hi, we're in the Fritz Gallery on a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous February afternoon in Palm Beach, Florida, for a show titled The Patterns We Perceive, New Paintings and Other Mysteries, which is a collection of new works on canvas and prints. The challenge was to take an already printed piece of fabric and to change it through an evolution of painted gestures, drips, painted out areas. In this picture, in terms of recognizing pattern, this is called Mums the Word, a play on words. These are mums, and they're in a pattern of 4. So when you're looking at this object, you start to perceive other patterns. This was another very interesting picture where I decided, again, to block out these patterns that would go off the page and find a way to put an abstracted pattern together on the pictures. Most of my work, if not all of my work, is an appropriation of a printed material, a page in a magazine or a newspaper. And in this case, I found an ad from 1950 that had a lady and her bag, and decided to cut it in half and to flip it over upside down. So when you look at it, you don't see at the same second that it's a lady with a bag, here's her hand, but you see a different kind of composition. And the double bag lady, of course, comes from the smaller bag lady picture, but in this case, we put both of them together and sideways. It's the simplicity of the composition that I enjoyed and the challenge of making something very pedestrian into something very interesting. These are among my most favorite works in the show and among the most famous works in my collection. One picture in particular was sold 30 minutes before we opened the show, which I'm very proud of. In many cases, artists like the challenge of making compositions devoid of color, because when you're not using color and you're only using shape as the motivating factor to put together an interesting and arresting composition, it just is more of a challenge. What I do is to try to find these disparate pieces of pictures and pieces of paper and try to put them together in a way that starts to form a composition. There's a lot of personal enjoyment with these because you have no idea which road you're going down, whether you're going to take a right or a left or what makes sense. It's just what feels right at the time. In addition, we have other larger paintings. One of them, my favorite, called Macy's Mickey Day Parade, where an 82-inch tall painting depicts the debut of Mickey Mouse in 1937 in the Macy's Day Parade. It's very exciting. It was one of the most popular pictures in the exhibition, and it sold on opening night, so I'm very pleased. Here are the handlers, here are the volunteers, and many of them are wearing Mickey Mouse ears, and they're all holding on to this thing for their dear life. Another component that I enjoyed putting in this that sort of broke up the space a bit was redrawing the lines that were holding down the Mickey Mouse. And because it was a rainy day, I exaggerated a lot of the painting drips that sort of had a kind of a metaphoric connection to a rainy day, but also added to the painterly aspects and surface. In many cases, I've gone back and painted in clouds that accentuate a building. I'm always looking for something way in the background that gives a space, and in this case I decided to just paint a few little flying birds up there, so the illusion is from looking from here all the way up to there that there's an aspect of space that you're trying to build into the picture. It really is an example of one more way of kind of holding an aesthetic note longer. In other words, finding as many components as you can to make a more interesting picture. Occasionally, since the source material is the printed page, I'll find an image that I can appropriate and put into a different context. And in this case, of course, it's an appropriation of a famous Picasso work. The original painting of about 1922 for Picasso, and then added other collage material. Again, the original collage was about this big. Then I blew it up to this size, and then began, it started as a black and white piece of paper, to color in the face, adding a little makeup, adding some color into here, and then the final piece was coloring in this blue circle, and the title of this picture is Blue Period. Part of the aesthetics of the picture is its recognizability, that it comes from a Picasso-esque, if you will, composition, and that there are added elements onto it. An image that already existed, and twisted it and manipulated it into something different, into something new. And that's really the mission that I have as an artist, to make something new out of something old. Of all the shows that I've had, and I imagine it must be well over 100. This is absolutely, hands down, the most beautiful showplace I've ever had the opportunity to exhibit my work. Great spaces, beautiful walls. Apparently, the structure was built in the 1930s as a dance hall, and so with that, it has a second floor with beautiful rafters, which sort of adds to the ambiance and also the concentration in looking at the pictures.
Attention, this message is for everyone eligible for Medicare. If you have Medicare Part A, Part B, or any Medicare Advantage plan, you are entitled to preventative services with no copays and no deductibles. You may also be eligible for full dental, vision, and prescription coverage. These benefits can make a huge difference in your overall health. Call Nations Advantage now to renew your Medicare plan options.
Please call 800-590-6941.
Listen up, America. Millions of Americans just like you owe the IRS more than $10,000 and are facing liens, bank levies, wage garnishments, penalty abatements, and other IRS enforcement actions. Newly authorized debt forgiveness programs allow you to settle your debts for less than ever before. Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? If so, then call Tax Savings Helpline now.
Please call 800-873-5927.
Be part of the forward moving process. Get involved. Be part of the conversation and stay connected. Hi, I'm Kwame Elwin, host of The Q Empire. Be generous and kind. You'll feel better. And watch The Q Empire each week, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. on Buzz TV Network. Grow your personal empire right here.
Are you drowning in debt? Struggling just to make minimum payments? It's not your fault. Serious debt can happen to anyone, but there is hope. Our debt-free program has helped thousands of good people just like you eliminate their credit card debt. Call us today and we will dramatically reduce your credit card debt down to just a fraction of what you owe. The call is free. The consultation is free. Take control of your credit debt. Take control of your life again. Call now to see how our debt-free program can work for you.
Call 800-993-1670.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Kanai, and I'm the CEO of Ann Norton Sculpture Gardens. Very happy to be here today with Bruce Helander. We are discussing the wonderful exhibition that we have in the gallery, An Eye on Nature, the prints and paintings of Morton Case. Bruce, I haven't met Morton yet, but I'm very much looking forward to it. I know that he is described by many as distinguished, esteemed, admirable. Could you please give us your thoughts on Mr. Case?
Well, all of those observations are right on the money. I've been an artist and a critic and a curator most of my life, and all of the famous artists that I've known, from Kenneth Nolan to Rauschenberg to Chamberlain, all have this great spirit. I think Morton Case has exactly the same kind of circumstance where it's a twinkle in his eye, it's a vision, it's an excitement, it's a slight smile. It's full of confidence and full of experience.
Fantastic. We're excited about the fact that the exhibition really focuses on nature because we have 2 acres of nature right here. So let's talk a little bit about the paintings and the pieces of work. The first thing that comes to mind is color. It appears that Mr. Case really does find a lot of joy in color.
Well, that's the first thing that artists try to master, studying color, working with color. Morton's traveled all over the world from Venice to Rome, studying the landscape, studying the architecture, and little by little he has developed a remarkable color palette that is particularly interesting in this show because most of these pictures are about nature, as you said, whether they're flowers or butterflies or so on. Color was the key, and it's right here. The exhibition of exquisite works by New York-based Morton Case is a true delight for the eye. The exhibition is a celebration of the perpetual cycle of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness through the intrinsic beauty of our landscape and the inventive juxtapositions that could be interpreted in this show as new garden of earthly delights. Mr. Case has spent his entire professional life exploring the complements of nature, among other topics, from abstracting plants and flowers to exotic landscapes and the flamboyant butterflies that accent our atmosphere, with a passionate emphasis on the effects of light and color on these entities. This current exhibit, titled The Eye for Nature, Paintings and Prints by Morton Case, offers visitors a survey of simply charming, organic assortments that magically bring the outdoors in. In this memorable exhibition of more than 30 individual works, Case appears to be an avid adventurer, an explorer of multitude of flowering plants that often seem to take on their own distinct personalities. Whether a single iris or a gorgeous bouquet, the artist intuitively has a perfect sense of composition, and to my mind, a remarkable aptitude for mixing pigment and forming it into memorable, abstracted figurations.
Fantastic. I wanted to ask you a quick question about the butterflies because I know that that is a newer series that he's been working on. Can you speak about maybe his inspiration for the butterflies?
Well, I think butterflies are obviously an extension of nature, and for centuries artists have been trying to capture the magic of butterflies. They have a resemblance to romance, to nature, to color, to exotic subjects, and in fact there are butterflies in the garden, and now they're on the inside. This exhibition is a rare opportunity to see and contemplate enchanting works by Morton Case, a recognized modern master who offers an indelible impression of the inherent splendor in nature and meets the challenge of artists to cleverly interpret the aesthetics of our beautiful environment.
We look forward to meeting Mr. Case and his entire family, and we look forward to visitors from the area and beyond enjoying this exhibition.
I agree, and it's a show I don't think anyone should miss.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, it's time for a house call. I'm your host, Kim Beckett. The Center for Advanced Eye Care is pleased to announce a new addition to the medical staff, Dr. Dominic Benedetto. Dr. Benedetto is a board-certified ophthalmologist bringing his years of experience up north to us here in sunny Vero Beach. Hi, Dr. Benedetto, how are you?
I'm great, it's happy to be in Vero.
Well, we are very, very happy to have you here. So first of all, I want to ask you, why did you come to Vero Beach? What made you select our beautiful town?
Well, first of all, I went to medical school at the University of Florida in Gainesville, up north.
So you're familiar with the state?
I'm familiar with the state, so we've traveled on vacationing just about everywhere in Florida. But actually, we came to Vero because my wife had a very good friend that she worked with 25 years ago, who's been in the real estate business here in Vero, and she said, "You must come to see Vero." And we said, "We don't know anything about it."
Yeah.
But once we came, that was it.
You were sold.
We made a decision immediately.
I just cannot tell you how many people I speak to that are exactly the same way. You know, they'll travel all up and down the coast and they come to Vero Beach and they're like, oh my gosh, this is just paradise.
Yeah, we visited from Charleston all the way down to Naples, to Miami, up to Jupiter, and we've been everywhere.
Right.
But, and this was, actually, Vero is most like the town that we lived in for 25 years. Pretty quiet, a little bit off the map, and no traffic. I know there's traffic here in the high season, but most of the time, no traffic, certainly in the off season, and it's very private, and that's kind of the way we lived for 25 years in New Jersey.
Well, that's, and
so
you know,
we were looking for the exact same thing.
Exactly. And it's nice too because I feel like, you know, we still have access to big city life if you need that, and we have access to airports and easy travel, and so, you know.
That's the first thing people said to me. They said, well, what are you going to do for fun? I said, you have to realize that we're 35 miles from Manhattan, west of Manhattan in New Jersey, and to get into Manhattan sometimes could take 2 or 3 hours.
I know, that's crazy, right?
Crazy. So I said, we have Miami, I mean, we have Miami down the coast, 2.5 hours away, and we have Palm Beach that's an hour and a half away.
Right, and if you want to go see Mickey, you can go to Disney.
Actually, we would drive down to Palm Beach for an hour and a half and come back in the same night.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Well, we are very, very happy to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Well, now tell us a little bit about yourself. So I know you mentioned New Jersey, so I know that you had a practice in New Jersey before coming to Vero Beach.
That's right. So I trained as an ophthalmologist at the Wills Eye Hospital in Philadelphia, the oldest and largest eye hospital in the Western Hemisphere. I was very privileged to be there. But even more interesting is that I was born 2 blocks from the hospital, and I grew up the early part of my life, the first 6 years of my life, we lived with my grandmother 5 blocks from the hospital. So
it was meant to be.
In my head, that's all I heard about, even when I was a child. So-and-so had to go to Wills Eye Hospital. He had an eye problem. So-and-so had to go to Wills Eye Hospital. He just got operated, etc. So for some reason stuck in my head, and when it came time for me to make a decision to be an ophthalmologist, that was the first thing that came into my mind.
That you had grown up so close to that major institution. Yeah.
So then, let's see, I went to school in northern New Jersey, Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and then down to medical school at University of Florida, where I actually spent 6 years. I got my MD degree and master's degree at the University of Florida, College of Medicine. And then I served, I had a military obligation to serve because I was in the ROTC program at Rutgers. So I did my internship in internal medicine at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in DC. And then I was sent to, believe it or not, Bayonne, New Jersey to serve 2 years as an internist.
Wow.
So I was chief of the U.S. Army Health Clinic at the Military Ocean Terminal in Bayonne, New Jersey. So I was in charge of about 5,000 employees and 10,000 retirees in the area.
Oh my gosh.
So I had a huge clinic. It was a very busy job.
I would imagine so. And I would think that you would just kind of see everything when it comes to internal medicine.
Well, I was trained as an internist, but believe it or not, in that clinic I did pediatrics, orthopedics, OBGYN. I had to do everything because I was the only doctor there.
You were the jack of all trades.
So I became the jack of all trades.
That's great. Well, so now let me ask you this. Did that experience kind of help you decide where you wanted to go within medicine?
You mean in terms of medicine?
Yes.
That's probably the most common question I get asked, and it's an interesting story. I'll tell you very quickly. So when I was at the University of Florida, I was just so happy to be in medical school. I enjoyed every bit of it. It was a great place to train. I liked just about every specialty except maybe a handful, 3 or 4. And it was very difficult to make a decision. I was going to be an internist at first. And I said, you know what, I'm going to try to, over the next year, try to find out who were the happiest people in the hospital. And I would observe doctors, you know, all the time. And it was very clear to me, it was so obvious, that the ophthalmologists were the happiest doctors in the hospital because I would see them skipping down the hallway. They were always very friendly and affable. And I said, there's got to be something to that. So I better take a rotation in ophthalmology.
That is very interesting. And you fell in love with it.
Yeah, I fell in love with it. It's a... And you know, now that I've been a practicing ophthalmologist and I will continue to practice, but I really understand why. And it's, you know, we have a different goal as ophthalmologists. We're preserving sight, not life. Preserving life is a noble job as well, but preserving sight is, not that other areas of medicine are not gratifying in different ways, but it's gratifying immediately as an ophthalmologist. You know, we operate people who can't see, and the very next day they can see, and that's probably the most exciting part of our business, is seeing people so appreciative of having their most valued sense restored.
Right. Well, I mean, the thought of not having your sight is just, you know, I just don't think that we all really think about it until we're having a conversation like this, and that's when you think, oh my gosh, you know, that would just be horrible.
You know, when I first came here, Bill Mallon said to me, well, what would you like to do? I said, well, I'm kind of like a mini you. I've done what you've done a little bit longer than you have, 20 years longer. And he said, well, gee, I don't want to give that up. I just love seeing patients the next day after surgery.
Yes.
Because he said it's so gratifying, and I understand that completely.
Right, right. And it is. I mean, I feel like your specialty is just fabulous. We'll hold that thought right there. We will be right back with more information, and we will be talking again with Dr. Benedetto.
Are you drowning in debt? Struggling just to make minimum payments? It's not your fault. Serious debt can happen to anyone, but there is hope. Our debt-free program has helped thousands of good people just like you eliminate their credit card debt. Call us today and we will dramatically reduce your credit card debt down to just a fraction of what you owe. The call is free. The consultation is free. Take control of your credit debt. Take control of your life again. Call now to see how our debt-free program can work for you.
Call 800-993-1670.
Who will our next president be? 5-year-old American folk hero baby Dominic or incumbent President Herbert H. Hooey?
Kiss me. Come on. Give me a kiss. Where am I?
Why is it of late you began wearing that new blonde wig.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
I have a follow-up question.
Next question.
Are you trying to look like 45th President Donald Trump?
I couldn't hear your question either. Is it time for lunch?
Hello, hello.
Senator Corn Muffin, can you hear me?
No, I don't hear anything.
Senator Corn Muffin.
I think the president has lost his mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. Secret underground prisons are my final answer.
Sticky pool. Build more playgrounds.
And what we need are more taxes.
No.
Vote for me.
No more taxes.
Go, babe!
Vote for me.
The red phone is ringing.
What do you want? I'm busy. Vladimir? Hey, Vlad! You never call me anymore. A nuclear what? Where is Fuzzy Bear?
Who does he think he is?
Would you rather be a duck or a goose?
A goose.
Duck. Buzz TV Network can now project the winner by a wide margin for the presidency is none other than...
Wow. Was that real? I should go check on Dominic.
Welcome back to House Call. I'm your host, Kim Beckett, and I am so fortunate to be sitting here with Dr. Benedetto. Dr. Benedetto is the new ophthalmologist here at the Center for Advanced Eye Care in Vero Beach. Okay, Dr. Benedetto, you were telling us about your training and your experience up in New Jersey. So can you actually, I mean, for our viewers, so that they really understand the number of years that it takes to become an ophthalmologist?
So if you include college, so it's 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, a year of internship, and 3 years of training as an eye surgeon.
Right.
So it's a total of 12 years. Actually, I spent 2 more years because I got a master's degree in immunology and medical microbiology as well.
Did you really?
School. Yes. So it's
so you did that at University of Florida.
At University,
is where you did that.
The University of Florida. Yeah.
And then where did you do your ophthalmology training?
So then I did my training in residency at the Wills Eye Hospital in Philadelphia.
Okay, and that's the one that you grew up right down the street from.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we're constantly vying for the top 2 or 3 positions in ophthalmology in the country with Bascom Palmer at the University of Miami.
Isn't that interesting? Where my son goes to school. So
it's a great institution you have in Florida, no question.
But you told me that it is the largest. So tell me, it's the largest on the.
So Wills Eye Hospital is the oldest and largest eye institution in the Western Hemisphere. I think they have a couple of places larger in Europe. But when I was there, we would take 12 or 13 residents in ophthalmology, which is, that's a lot of residents in ophthalmology. Most programs have as little as 2.
Wow.
Mostly 3 or 4, but 12 or 13 is.
But
it was a huge eye hospital and demanded a lot of service, and we were there to serve all the patients.
And I'm sure you saw some amazing eye issues while you were there.
Yeah, we were very fortunate because I like to say we were spoon-fed, and we were spoon-fed. We were lectured to every morning and every noontime, and at the end of the day, every single day for 3 years. But the most important thing was that all the subspecialists in ophthalmology, the neuro-ophthalmologist, the retina specialist, the glaucoma specialist, the cornea specialist, the pediatrician, the pediatric ophthalmologist, they were all in the hospital with us. So if we had an interesting case or we didn't know what was going on, we would just walk them up to the specialist same day, instantaneously. Well, why don't you come up with me to the retina department? Let's have them take a quick look. And they would have an immediate consultation on the spot. So we learned firsthand like that. It was a great institution. I really enjoyed it. Probably my best experience in medicine.
And then from there, you opened a practice.
So then I opened practice in, when I was in the military, I mentioned that they stationed me in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Yes.
And while I was there, I realized that it was a place that needed another ophthalmologist. So I opened a practice there from scratch. You know, I had known a lot of physicians in town because being a physician at the Military Ocean Terminal, I got to interact with some of the local physicians. So it was an obvious place for me to start practice. And then 15 years later, I developed a practice close to where we lived in Morristown, New Jersey. So I developed 2 practices actually from scratch.
Wow.
And I became a very busy guy, and then in the later years of my career, in the last 10 years, some of my friends, some for health reasons and some just because they didn't want to do surgery anymore, I would operate for 2 other practices. So I had my 2 locations. Oh my gosh. So I had my 2 locations to operate for, and then I did surgery for 2 other practices, cataract surgery and refractive surgery.
That is...
So I was a busy guy the last 10 years, very busy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so then you decided, so now we're fortunate to have you here. So you've brought all of that great experience up there, and you've decided to, you and your wife have moved here.
Yeah. So again, my specialty became cataract and refractive surgery in the last 20 years of practice. But the first 20 years I was a general ophthalmologist, where I took care of all things. I used to do pediatric ophthalmology, I did glaucoma surgery, I even did some retina surgery. But you know, after a while, when you get busy, the things you don't do often, you know, become more of a burden,
right,
and a liability than you would want to have. So, you know, I began to refer the cornea patients to the cornea specialist, and the glaucoma patients to the glaucoma specialist, etc. So,
well, and that's what's so perfect about...
So I became mostly a cataract and refractive surgeon.
And that's what's so great about being here, is because you guys here in this office kind of cover the gamut of everything that you could need.
Exactly. That's one of the things that attracted me to this practice, was that there are at least 5 specialties here, and my job here will be actually to fill in the blanks. And when I say fill in the blanks, there are so many surgeries done here, different types of surgeries, most of which I've done, that it's easy for me to counsel patients, it's easy for me to evaluate patients with those problems, and then refer them to the surgeon for for 40 years.
Of course.
And have so much knowledge in.
Right.
I just want to be able to still utilize it. It's who I am, and I want to continue in that vein. So my job here is basically going to be to fill in where I'm needed, and I'm not going to be doing surgery anymore.
I was going to ask you if you were going to do that.
I won't be doing surgery anymore, but I'll be able to evaluate patient complaints. And you know, the other thing I want to mention is that when you're doing this much surgery, as the Center for Advanced Eye Care is doing, there are so many calls after hours and on weekends that's how I'm going to be operating, basically working in evening hours and on weekends.
Wow, that's great.
To fill that demand. That's a demand that needs to be met, certainly by this practice, but I think in general, for the general population. You know, most of the issues with surgery patients, they all do very well, first of all. But there's a lot of hand-holding, because after surgery there are lots of symptoms that develop that weren't there before.
Right.
And 99% of them are benign symptoms that disappear after 3 or 4 days. But you never know when you're going to have that one patient who has a real problem. So somebody's got to be available all the time to see these surgical patients.
Exactly. And I have to say that I think for our viewers out there, just hearing you talk about this has got to be so comforting, because I feel like I go with my